It's so nice to see you again, Andre, and to have this chance to talk with you about your recent show at Hutchinson Modern and Contemporary, but also generally what you're working on.
Thank you so much, Clara. It's a pleasure to me to have this talk with you. I'd like to thank the Hudson Modern Contemporary Gallery, and I'm really glad doing this exhibition in the gallery. And it's really nice to have this kind of discussion, talk about what I'm doing. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, and I know you're calling in from Sao Paulo, and so I thought we could start off by you telling us a little bit about where you're from and how it influences your work.
Okay, I am Brazilian. I was born in 1985 in São Paulo. When I live, I have my studio, my family, I have my life here. And now I am my studio. Yeah, in the end, I can show a little bit of the space to you.
Okay. I know that this specific show, Imaginarium, is based on the fellowship that you did in New York a couple of years ago. And I was curious if you could talk a little bit about how your Brazilian background comes into this work, but also how your time in New York shows up in the pieces that you created.
Okay. The last year, 2022, I made an art residency in Brooklyn in Residency Unlimited. I stayed for 2.5 months in the residency in Dumbo, a great studio. And during this time, I developed a bit of work, and I am showing just works now in the Hudson Modern. Isabella Hudson was introduced to me by two friends, Luciana Solano and Fernanda Mazuco. Isabella visited my studio and we started to talk, and she invited me to do this show. It's a very special group of work because it was made in a different context, in different city. Everything is different, the language is different, the food is different, the time is different of my life in São Paulo. And during this time, I met new artists, visited great collections, great museums in New York, and I felt that my work was affected in a good way by this great and dynamic energy of New York.
Yeah, I think I remember when we met in the gallery, you spoke a little bit about this piece in particular and how the dynamism and the energy of New York influenced this kind of like circular composition. You want to say, maybe elaborate on that some more?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a big challenge to develop art practice in a different context. And when I arrived in New York and start to develop my work in the studio, I felt that I couldn't do the same thing that I was doing in Brazil. I need to be open for this new environment. And the first composition that I paint was about this snake turning. Is correct? Turning?
Yeah.
It's a circle
Like
movement,
circling. Hmm.
circling movement. And this movement show me that I was um, getting some different energy. It's a more dynamic movement, some way. And during the time, during the process of the works, I understand that the great influence that I was feeling in New York was this kind of energy, of dynamic energy of the city. And the most of my compositions uh, during this period is circular.
Mm.
The brush stroke have a more dynamic movement. And to me, that was the most impact of the city in my work. I have a short time to produce, only 2 months, and I produced around 20 works.
Wow.
It's a lot for a short time.
It is.
And to develop this body of work in this short time, in this different context, I was out of my house, out of my family. I have 2 kids, so it's totally different context. And but I I could go deep into this experience, and the works show me new possibilities influenced by this new context. And the dynamic of New York is so particular. And yeah, the result is this exhibition in Hutchinson Modern. When I didn't put out the what I was doing in Brazil, but I mixed my work with this new environment. And I come back to Brazil after this experience with new possibilities to develop. And to me, it's the most important point in doing a residency, is you to be in contact with a different context and be influenced by this new environment, and go forward in your research, in your practice. So I'm really glad about it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about how New York not only, I guess, propelled you to make so much art, but you carried it forward. And I think it's also interesting. I mean, I see that circular dynamism and energy that you're pointing out here, but it's also interesting because in the artwork that you presented here, you incorporate a lot of diverse iconography from the snake we just saw, flora, fauna. We see some cars, we see some other urban elements. And I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on the significance of these symbols and if they represent any specific themes or messages in your work.
Oh, it's a really good question. I always have the practice of drawing, and but at the same time, a huge interest in develop the color in a free way, in a flat space. And to me, it's very important to have a good combination between the form and the space of the color in the work. And but at the same time, this duality between abstract and figuration was something that interested me a lot. And I started to look for possibilities of figurations in a free way, and figurations that could remind me something old memories of my childhood, or something about my ancestry as an Afro-Brazilian artist. Um, and looking for this heritage of a folk culture in Brazil, I start to develop some motifs that I have never thought before. And the focus is not in the meaning of these motifs, the meaning of these snakes or a vehicle, but the visual intelligence behind them, and the visual intelligence that cross these different themes in the painting. But at the same time, interested me a lot that these issues in the work, these motifs, could look like a symbol, as a world figure, something that sounds familiar for the viewer. And when I felt this, I start to look for an old iconography, and the animals, like a snake, a bird, a fish. We have a so old iconography, so old image in our mind about these themes, and it interests me a lot. And when I am painting a snake, I'm not trying to represent a specific meaning of this image, but I like to cross this old iconography with my contemporary life, and through these images develop this specific heritage of my visuality as a Brazilian, as a Latin American artist, something that I can identify in deep in my mind. And I can mix it in some compositions, different motifs, without a hierarchy between them, because the most important is not the meaning of the symbol, but the way that I will represent these figures.
Yeah, it's interesting that from what you, I think a little bit of what you said is that you perhaps started with a more Brazilian world of references, very personal to you, Brazilian folk, your own heritage. And then you are now working towards a more universal iconography that resonates across cultures. And I think this idea of tapping onto traditions in the past, what I find really fascinating is it's not just present in the iconography and the images you pick, but in the unique medium you use. And so I think your artwork really stands out for its really impressive use of egg tempera. What initially drew you to this technique, and what unique qualities do you think it brings to your art?
It's very interesting. When I was a student, art student, I researched all the possibilities of techniques that I could, because as painter, I have this interest in research about my language. So I I develop oil, acrylic, resin, um, uh, some paint, what's the name? Different kind of techniques, watercolor, gouache, encaustic. But I fall in love with the egg tempera because I was really interested in research the color and have the spirit of the color expressed in the painting. And the egg tempera have a great tradition of colors in not only in the Europe but also in Brazil. We have in the modern art good examples of painters who used egg tempera. The most important was Alfredo Volpi. Alfredo Volpi was an Italian-born artist, but who lived almost all his life in Brazil. In the beginning, he crossed the last century in his life. He died in 1980s, if I'm not wrong. So he is an important reference for Brazilian paint. And he developed the egg tempera in a very special way. And I start to develop the technique. In the first moments, not only because I was interested in the technique, but also because I would like to learn the most I could to give classes. In the beginning of my career, I worked as a teacher in studios, free studios. And to me, it was important to research in a deep way about the techniques to provide a good classes and to have this knowledge to teach. And during the time, along the years that I was developing this research into this technique, the technique was come to my work, and now I just work with egg tempera. The technique, I feel really connected with this process, with my sensibility using this technique. The choice of the technique is poetic choice because it demands a particular way to develop the process of the creation, and the result of the colors, how the colors will look like, is totally influenced by the choice of the technique. And I like the quality of the color in the surface is a matte quality. I like the process that the egg tempera demand. I need to prepare the colors by myself. It's a pre-industrial process because I need to mix the pigment with the binder by myself in my studio. So I have the control of all the components of the paint. And when it's very different. You buy a tube of paint in a Shopee. It's very different when you do the paint by yourself, because I need to take the dry pigment and have this connection with this material in a deep way. and it changed totally my relation with the colors. And the quality of the egg tempera remind me some examples of vernacular architecture in Brazil that was painted in with in Brazil you say pintura caiada, because a mix between pigment and calcinate, and you paint the walls, and the quality of these walls is very transparent. We have a lot of transparency. When rain, the colors change in the facades because this ancient kinds of painting don't cover the walls totally, so have a lot of transparencies. And when you look the wall, you can feel the history of these layers over the time. And the egg tempera provides a good connection with this tradition and this vernacular architecture. And it's important to me that not only to think about the color, but the quality of this color in the surface. The egg tempera have a great tradition in Italian Middle Ages and the beginning of the Renaissance. And the color during this time have a metaphorical meaning of creation, of light, of purity. And these aspects, these conceptual aspects of the technique interest me a lot too.
Thank you for that. I think it's really special to hear about a form of artistry where, you know, usually an artist is a creator, but you start from the bare bones of pigment and you even make your own material, and then you make your own paintings out of it. And this harking back to different forms of traditions in art making, in ornamentation, in vibrancy, I find really interesting today, because as you highlighted, this is a pre-industrial process. And I'm wondering if you see your art's emphasis on the egg tempera technique as a vital message in an age where instant is often demanded or required. We see a lot of artists today working with a lot of nascent and digital art making technologies and forms, but yours suggests a kind of revival, or at least a rescuing of long-standing traditions in art.
The choice of the technique to me is most related with my sensibility. I could painting with everything, but my choice for egg tempera is because I feel this connection with the process. But your question is very interesting, because if you think about the technique in the modern painting, the contemporary painting, the painting was totally influenced by the industrial era. The creation of the tube of painting made a revolution in art. So the Impressionists start to painting outside because they have the tube of painting. It's a really interesting issue to discuss, how the industry of the materials and the modern life, the industrial area, changed the relation between the painter and his language. I like to think about it, but my choice of this technique, my choice of egg tempera is not focus in this discussion, but it's more connected with my sensibility. Um, I think that to do art itself is something against the velocity of the time of our contemporary life. Independent of kind of technique you will use, to do art demand different time, um, demand different relation with the life, and it itself is have a contrast between the modern life, the contemporary life, the this our relation with the image is different. But to me, the egg tempera is more connected with my my feelings, my sensibility to develop the relations between the colors, the construction of the surface. And I do not only the painting by myself, but also my canvas I prepared by myself. The paintings begins in the support, in the canvas. And I prepare my canvas in a wood way. I mixed hemp glue with calcium carbonate, and I control the quality of the white in my canvas, if I have more transparency or not. So all my process is pre-industrial in some way. And but it's because I can have more control of the qualities. I believe that the most important sometimes in the work is just little choices that you do. The quality of the canvas, the quality of the color, some little decisions could make a huge difference. Probably if I develop the work with other kind of technique, some compositions couldn't work well, because some details of the luminosity of the surface, the transparency of the color could be enough to a paint to have success or not. The success of the paint sometimes is based in a little choice, a little difference between a decision or other. And with this technique and have the control of all the process, since the preparation of the support provides me control that I of the result.
And I think, Andre, it's interesting to hear that the color choices and the way that they maybe fall, get absorbed by the canvas is a big priority. Because I think in these three particular pieces, which I believe were originally studies, they kind of show the way that color really dominated the kind of thinking through the composition and the making of the painting. And they also show a little bit your schematic compositions and how you think them through. And I would just love for you to talk a little bit about these studies and how your studies then evolve into your works of art.
Ah, nice. The egg tempera demands a method to work because you need to prepare color by color. It demand time to prepare. So I need to have some idea what I will do in a big canvas, because a decision to cover a canvas with a color demand a lot of time to prepare. So I used to do little sketches to understand how the color will work and to develop the composition, to research the possibilities before go to the big canvas. And in the beginning, I just stretched in the wall some slices of canvas, of linen, and I used to do little sketches with colors and drawings. But I realized that these studies was works by themselves. Uh, they was part of the process, but they have a particular quality, particular um, uh, proposition, and I decided to show uh, this process because at the same time it's a way to open the process for the viewers too. And in this little canvas, I do a lot in the same time. I prepare and I uh, do some notation, some test of color in one, and I do something different in other. And during the time, uh, I, I, I develop this canvas together, and in a few way, um, I have the feeling, for example, to do some composition, some sketch, and I do. If I like, I keep. If I don't like, I erase it and do other thing over this first. And when you look these works, you can see all this process open. You can see the layers behind my decisions before. And other important point, color demand high um, how can I say, they demand a good combination between one color and the other.
Color theory.
Sorry?
Color theory? How?
No, 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 no. I am talking about the quality of the color. For example, if I want to do a composition with blue and pink, I need to find uh, uh, a good quality of this blue in connection with a specific kinds of pink. So I need to research, to do some tests before. If the blue will be with deeper or not, if I put more water or less, more pigment or less. So I need to develop to find the perfect quality of this color. And it's important to have this little canvas support to do this process before go to a big canvas. And I start to do these tests in these little works. So in the painting above of two chips, you can feel in the left, in the right border some little brush strokes with different colors, you know?
Mhm.
And this is the process to research the color. And it helped me a lot because when I paint in a big canvas, I have a more idea how the color will work. And it's very important to do these tests in a canvas with the same quality of the big canvas that I will do the final work. Because if I do the test in a paper, for example, the quality of the color will be so different. So I need to have this support by my side to during the process.
Mhm.
And sometimes I developed this little canvas, but I don't do in a big one because I understand that this composition have find his perfect size, and you not work in a big size, for example. So and it's important to me to have this possibility to work in different sizes of canvas.
Thank you. It's really lovely to hear about the process, and I'm so happy you included these pieces in the show, because I think the process of your work really, I mean, it really makes up a big part of the visual impact of it. And I think, like you said, you're in your studio, so it'd be really great for you to share a little bit of show us around your space and share a little bit about what you're doing next.
Oh, nice, nice. I will show.
Yeah.
I will show to you. Um, I hope my connection will not turn off because I take the computer out of the table, but let's see. Uh, before the show, I'd like to say a little bit about what I'm doing now. I am preparing a new group of canvas for a show that I will do in New York on September in an art fair, Arman show. And I am preparing canvas in a bigger size than I showed in Hudson Modern, because just paintings was produced here in my studio São Paulo, so I have more time and more space to develop big canvas. And I thought that could be interesting to show just this works in New York. So in September, I showed this paintings. Well, here I am in the salon of my studio. My studio is a house, and around the house I have a kind of salon that is when I paint. Inside the house, I have my office. I have a place to put my collections and materials. I have a kitchen, a bathroom, and out of the house I have the salon when I paint. So I will show the salon to you. Can you see?
Yes. Well, you are working in quite large scale paintings.
Yeah, I am working in this canvas of the facades. Let me show. Can you
Yes. Are those smaller ones also studies that
yeah. Here I have some studies. And here I have my table, materials. Let me show my pigments.
Mm-hmm.
I am really proud about my collection of pigments.
Wow, it's really impressive. And do you source these pigments back home, or where do you get them from?
Different parts of the world. When some friends travel, I used to ask of the possibility to bring some color, because I am doing a collection really of colors, different of different origins. I have Brazilian colors, Italian, Spain, German, from United States. Um, so the color is about culture also, no? Um, and I have a lot of natural pigments from earth pigments.
Oh, wow.
And the next, the last time that during my residency, I visited a great shop in New York, a German shop of pigments, one of the best in the world, uh, Kremer. And I get crazy. I almost buy all the catalog of the pigments. Uh, and I like to investigate
Mhm.
these different oranges, some colors. Color is never something that you can have totally control, because the same pigment, for example, cobalt blue, could be different if you buy in a brand or other brand,
Mm.
because the production of this pigment could change a little bit the quality, and it's uh, it's beyond our control, and I think it's very interesting. But to work with color, you need to have some method to have a little of control of it. So let me show you something. I have some charts for the name. When I put different kind of
Mhm.
colors, and I put the name, the brand, and it's helped me a lot during the process, because, for example, here you have a different kind of blues, and the difference is really how can I say, um, the difference between these blues is not obvious when you look at the dry pigment. So I need to feel how the color will work in the canvas. So it's very important to have this method to have more control about my paintings.
Thank you. It's really fascinating to see your studio and to hear all the planning you do with your pigments, and it's so exciting to hear of a collector artist too, that you collect your pigments across the world. Um, Thank you for showing us around. It's been really great talking to you. Thank you for your time.
It was a great pleasure. I hope my English was enough.
Great. I really
uh,
enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to seeing New York in the fall. And we'll
oh,
continue.
nice. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
Thank you
congratulations again.
too much.
Thank you.